If you've ever thought, ADHD explains some things, but not all of them, or autism fits, but something's still missing, you're not imagining it, and you're not alone. Many people discover later in life that they're not just autistic or have ADHD. Instead, they have what is referred to as AuDHD, which is a non-clinical term that means that they have both ADHD and autism. This overlap is far more common than most people realize. Many teens and adults live right at the intersection of ADHD and autism. In fact, research suggests that between 30 and 80% of individuals with autism also meet criteria for ADHD, and vice versa. And yet, this dual presentation is still frequently missed because affected individuals don't fully match the stereotype of either one, and consequently, their needs are often misunderstood or overlooked. Hi there, I'm Dr. VC, and you're welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll explore 5 signs that you or your child might be showing traits of both ADHD and autism, and why recognizing this overlap can be life-changing. Let's begin simply. What does it actually mean to have both ADHD and autism? Having both ADHD and autism isn't simply about qualifying for 2 diagnoses, it's about how the traits interact. Autism commonly affects social understanding, sensory processing, a need for routine and predictability, and deep focus on specific interests. ADHD, on the other hand, commonly affects attention and task initiation, impulsivity and emotional reactivity, motivation and reward response, and time management and planning. When both are present, the overlap can be confusing, even to professionals, because the traits can either mask or intensify each other. Now, let's look at 5 common signs of combined ADHD and autism. Sign number 1. You're easily distracted, but also deeply hyper-focused. ADHD is often associated with distractibility, forgetfulness, and difficulty sustaining attention. But when autism is also part of the picture, another pattern emerges, one that can feel contradictory. You might struggle to stay engaged during tasks that don't interest you, yet experience intense, sustained focus on the things that do. A child might drift off during homework, but spend hours building intricate Minecraft worlds, memorizing statistics, or coding games. As an adult, you might get completely absorbed in a hobby, a project, or a special interest. During these moments, you can be incredibly productive, creative, and detail-oriented. But the moment something interrupts you, a noise, a question, a sudden change, your brain can crash into a wall. Instead of smoothly switching tasks, you might freeze, go blank, lose your train of thought, or feel mentally offline. This is where the autistic side shows up. Autistic shutdowns often happen when the brain is overwhelmed or forced to shift gears too quickly. So you end up in this cycle of intense focus, followed by sudden overwhelm, a pattern that can be confusing if you've only ever been told you have ADHD. And this difficulty shifting attention doesn't just affect tasks, it also shows up in social situations, which leads us into the next sign. Sign number 2, strong desire for connection, but difficulty navigating it. People often assume ADHD means being overly talkative or impulsive, while autism means being socially withdrawn or awkward. But when both are present, the experience is far more complex. Many AuDHD teens and adults genuinely want connection. They crave friendship, closeness, and belonging. But at the same time, they may struggle to understand social cues, maintain conversations, or keep up with shifting group dynamics. This can create a painful cycle, trying hard to connect, being misunderstood, and then withdrawing to avoid further hurt. Common signs include high social motivation paired with frequent misunderstandings, strong emotional reactions after perceived rejection, difficulty interpreting sarcasm, teasing, or subtle social shifts, masking behaviors like copying others, or becoming overly agreeable. And when social interactions feel confusing or unpredictable, many people turn to structure for comfort, which brings us to sign number 3. You crave structure, but can't maintain it. This is one of the most recognizable patterns in ADHD. The autistic part of you needs routine. Predictability feels safe. You might create detailed schedules, color-coded planners, or perfectly organized systems. You like knowing what's coming next. But the ADHD part of you doesn't cooperate. You might forget the routine you created, lose interest after a few days, get bored and change everything, or feel overwhelmed by the very structure you designed. This creates a constant push-pull dynamic. You crave order, but you can't sustain it. You want flexibility, but too much flexibility makes you anxious. And because of this, you may blame yourself for being inconsistent or lazy, when in reality, your brain is trying to satisfy two very different needs at the same time. And when routines fall apart or life becomes unpredictable, emotions can become even harder to manage, which leads directly into sign number 4. Your emotions feel too big and too fast. Both ADHD and autism affect emotional regulation, but in different ways. ADHD often brings emotional impulsivity, feelings that appear suddenly and intensely. Autism can make it harder to identify, label, or express emotions clearly. When these two combine, emotional experiences can feel overwhelming. You might notice emotional outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere, reactions that feel disproportionate to the situation, confusion or shame afterwards, replay loops where you analyze conversations long after they're over. You may worry about how you came across, or feel guilty for reacting in ways you didn't intend. None of this means you're dramatic or unstable. It simply means your brain processes emotions differently. And just like emotions, sensory experiences can also swing between extremes, which brings us to the next sign. You're both sensory sensitive and sensory seeking. Autism often comes with sensory sensitivities. Bright lights, loud noises, certain textures, or strong smells can feel overwhelming. ADHD, on the other hand, often brings sensory seeking, craving stimulation, movement, noise, or tactile input. When you're AuDHD, you can experience both, sometimes within the same hour. For example, you might hate loud environments, but need background noise to focus. You might avoid certain fabrics, but love strong textures or deep pressure. You might get overwhelmed in crowds, but feel restless when things are too quiet. Or you might crave stimulation until suddenly it becomes too much. This push-pull can make everyday life confusing. Something that feels comforting one moment can feel unbearable the next. But this pattern is extremely common in AuDHD adults. Now, this leads us to the most important question. Why is recognizing both ADHD and autism crucial? When ADHD or autism is identified on its own, support plans often miss critical needs. Recognizing that you have both can help develop a support or treatment plan that is tailored to meet your needs, as your treatment plan will likely be multifaceted. For many people, that plan includes a mix of different types of support. One option is talk therapy. Approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy can be especially helpful for AuDHD because they focus on emotional regulation, managing overwhelm, and building healthier coping strategies. A good therapist can help you understand your patterns and give you tools that genuinely work for your brain. Another option is occupational therapy. Occupational therapists specialize in practical, everyday skills. They can help you develop better time management techniques, create routines that actually stick, or even tailor work or school accommodations so they match your strengths and challenges. For some people, medication is also part of the picture. Certain prescriptions, including stimulants or antidepressants, can help manage symptoms related to ADHD or autism. Medication isn't right for everyone, but for many, it can make daily life feel more manageable. You can watch my previous video on how stimulant medications calm the ADHD brain. And finally, support groups can make a huge difference. Being around people who share similar experiences gives you a safe space to practice social skills, talk openly about challenges, and feel understood without having to mask. The key thing to remember is this: AuDHD isn't something you have to navigate alone. With the right combination of support, you can build a life that works with your brain, not against it. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.